He killed his family. A tale of madness and mystery. It began with a scream piercing, desperate, and abruptly silenced. On that stormy October night, the Harper family's house on Alder Lane transformed from a symbol of perfection into a silent tomb. The police arrived hours later, drawn by a neighbor's frantic call. The house stood eerily quiet, its windows glowing faintly against the rain-soaked darkness. Inside, 3 lifeless bodies were found. Sarah Harper, beloved wife and mother. Emily, a bright-eyed 10-year-old who dreamed of being an artist. And Noah, only 6, with his favorite tow truck still clutched in his hand. But David Harper, the family's patriarch, was missing. The news spread like wildfire. Father murders family, vanishes without a trace. The once celebrated architect became the subject of whispers and speculation. What drove him to such madness? Where had he gone? As investigators pieced together the events leading up to the tragedy, they uncovered something far more chilling than a man's descent into darkness. Before that night, the Harpers were the embodiment of the American dream. Their home was meticulously crafted by David himself, a spacious, sunlit house on the edge of a picturesque forest. Sarah's warm demeanor and David's professional success made them the couple everyone admired. Emily and Noah completed the picture, their laughter often heard echoing through the neighborhood. But perfection is a fragile mask, and behind it lay cracks invisible to the outside world. David, a man of ambition, was drowning in his work. His architectural firm was faltering, and the weight of looming deadlines consumed him. He spent hours locked away in his study, leaving Sarah to shoulder the emotional burden of their family. Sarah noticed his growing irritability, the way his once loving gaze now carried shadows. But every time she brought it up, he waved her off. "I'm fine, Sarah. It's just the pressure. Everything will be okay." She wanted to believe him. It started with small things. Sarah would misplace her keys only to find them in bizarre places inside the refrigerator or beneath the couch cushions. Doors creaked open in the middle of the night, and Emily swore she heard footsteps outside her bedroom. "Probably just the house settling," David would say dismissively, though he couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that began creeping into his own nights. One evening, while working late in his study, David heard it for the first time, a faint whisper, barely audible over the rain tapping on the windows. "David." He froze, his pencil hovering over the blueprint. The sound was soft, like someone breathing his name from the shadows. He turned, but the room was empty. Shaking his head, he laughed nervously. "I really need sleep," he muttered, but the whispers didn't stop. Weeks later, Sarah confided in her best friend, Anna. "David's different," she admitted. "It's like he's unraveling, and the house, it feels wrong. Like it's watching us." Anna frowned. "Maybe you should take a break. Go somewhere for a while." Sarah considered it, but leaving seemed impossible. David was under immense pressure, and the children loved their home. Besides, how could she explain the unease she couldn't quite put into words? That night, Emily woke her mother, trembling. "Mommy, I saw someone in the hall," she whispered. Sarah checked but found nothing. Still, the feeling of being watched lingered, growing stronger with each passing day. David's behavior became increasingly erratic. He started talking to himself, muttering under his breath about finishing it and not letting them win. When Sarah asked who he meant, he lashed out, accusing her of not understanding. The night of the tragedy, the rain fell harder than ever, drowning out all other sounds. Sarah tried once more to reach David. "David, please talk to me," she begged, standing at the door of his study. He didn't look up. His eyes were fixed on a blank piece of paper, his hand trembling as he gripped a pencil. "It's all wrong," he murmured. "They won't leave me alone until I fix it." "Who won't leave you alone?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. He snapped his head toward her, his eyes wild. "The house," he shouted. "Don't you feel it? Don't you hear them?" Fear gripped Sarah's chest. "David, you need help. Let me call someone." "No," he roared, slamming his fist on the desk. "No one can help us now." Hours later, the house was silent. Sarah tucked Emily and Noah into bed, kissing their foreheads and whispering reassurances she didn't believe. As she turned off the lights, she heard a faint creak from the stairs. Her heart raced, but when she checked, there was nothing there. Downstairs, David sat in the dark, the whispers growing louder, relentless. "They're holding you back. They don't believe in you. They have to go." David pressed his hands to his ears, but the voices seemed to echo from within his own skull. And then, as if in a trance, he stood and moved toward the kitchen, his steps slow and deliberate. By morning, the Harpers' once vibrant home had turned into a scene of horror. The chilling details of what happened that night remained shrouded in mystery. Sarah's body was found in the kitchen, her face frozen in an expression of terror. Emily and Noah were discovered in their beds, lifeless but untouched. David was gone. His whereabouts unknown. As investigators scoured the house, they found something peculiar. Strange symbols carved into the walls of David's study and a notebook filled with cryptic messages. "It wasn't me." One entry read, "It was the house."